Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Red Rider's Viewers Rides. For any of you who don't know what these episodes are all about, this is where I give my viewers an opportunity to participate in one of my episodes by not just watching it, by sending me photos of their bike or their bikes, and I take those photos and put them into a compilation slideshow for all of you to watch and enjoy. So this is a great episode to watch with your family. Actually, most of my episodes are great to watch with your family because I keep my channel family friendly. But this is an even more fun episode to watch with your family if your bike is in this episode, because a lot of people's kids, like grandkids and stuff like that, get really excited seeing grandpa or grandma's or mom or dad's bike in an episode on YouTube. So if you would like to participate in one of these episodes, you can do that. Just send me a bunch of photos of your motorcycle, you and your motorcycle, you know, whatever you want like that, and make sure that your photos, when you send them, are large, clear images. We try to work with nothing smaller than 1080p by 1080p. Screenshots are usually going to be too small and blurry to really work with and make look good. So please try to send large, clear photos of your bike. If you want to be in one of these episodes, send multiple photos of any motorcycle that you have owned or currently own, and we will put you in an episode for sure. It's a little warm in my garage, so if you notice me looking kind of majestic with my hair in the wind, then it's because I have a fan pointed directly at me so that I hopefully don't turn into a puddle of sweat by the time I'm done making this video. So I did also just want to reassure you all, there's some really bad forest fires burning in Canada right now, which is not surprising for a Canadian summer. Normally though, it's my province and the other western provinces that are kind of burning down at this time of year. For the first time in a long time, I actually don't have any forest fires near me, but I did just want to let you guys all know that I'm safe. I'm not anywhere near any really bad forest fires right now, and my skies are actually clear and blue, and they have been for a long time, so I'm really happy about that. And I definitely feel for the other people in Canada in the areas where there are fires and their skies are not so blue. I remember one summer specifically, actually, where I had my toy shop. It was the second year of my secondhand toy store, and we had moved to Main Street. So it was the first summer on Main Street in Penticton. That summer, we hardly saw the sun at all. I think we had one day where there was actually like a blue sky from like end of June to like end of August. It just felt like an overcast, like gloomy day, but it was hot, but just so smoky you could hardly breathe. You couldn't see the mountains across the lake. You'd wake up in the morning and your vehicle would be covered in a layer of ash. And actually it was a fire burning in Washington and blowing the smoke north, and that was a pretty significant fire. So some of you guys down in Washington might actually know what I'm talking about, or you know, other people just not even in Washington might even know what I'm talking about, because it was just like a super gloomy summer. But this year, thank God, we have had a bit of a reprieve from the smoke and the fires in BC, well, at least in my area of BC. So I'm thankful for that, and my prayers go out to everybody else who is actually suffering from the forest fires. I know a lot of you guys on the east side of the United States are getting a lot of our smoke. I just really hope that everything clears up right away. I read last week that one of the firefighters who was fighting a fire in the Northwest Territories actually lost his life, so that's always really tragic, and that doesn't happen very often with the forest fires around here. But it does happen occasionally, and that's just such a terrible thing. And those guys are risking their lives doing what they do and keeping us safe, and we really need to show them some gratitude, because if you want to talk about crappy ways to spend your summer, I gotta think that that would be on the top 10. Fighting forest fires in a heavy fire suit, literally like risking your life every day to just keep other people protected. So if there's anybody who watches my videos and you're a firefighter or volunteer firefighter, or you've worked in that field at all, then thank you guys for your sacrifices, because you guys do sacrifice, you guys risk your lives, and we're really thankful for you guys, because I don't know what we would do without you guys. Just watch our cities burn, I guess, and watch our forests burn. So thank you guys for the effort that you put in and for the sacrifices you guys make for all of us. So I'll talk a little bit about my toy store, and it actually goes back into like the 90s is kind of when this story starts. So the name of our toy shop was Mystery Toys. When I was a really little kid, I think it might have been, you can't quote me because I'm recalling the memories of like a 5-year-old, but I think that the first year that they opened would have been in 97, 98, somewhere like that. And I remember us actually sitting at the table as a family and trying to come up with a name for the toy store. And I remember actually chiming in with my ideas, which probably at the time, being so little, I probably thought that they were just like the best names ever for a toy store. And my dad would just kind of be like, oh yeah, we'll think about it. But being a 5-year-old, I probably just had like the most ridiculous names. And right now I don't remember what any of them were. But my oldest sister, I remember her suggesting the mystery toy chest. And then at that point, it kind of evolved into Mystery Toys. It just was such a catchy name. So we had like an old van at the time. My dad ended up painting it to look like a knockoff of the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machines, and that just kind of ended up being the theme that our toy store took. So that was in the 90s. My brothers ran it. My brothers were really young and they learned so much work ethic from that shop. They were both, I think, 14 and 16 when the toy shop opened. We ended up moving it to Kamloops, and eventually my brothers had decided that they wanted to move on and they wanted to try different things with their lives. So anyway, they decided to shut it down, which I think they both ended up regretting very shortly after, but what was done was done. It's sad to think about now, but it did inspire me and one of my older brothers to reopen the same Mystery Toys idea and started again in Penticton. That's where it originally began in the 90s. So me and my older brother revamped the idea in 2014. So we would get old toys, repair them if they needed repairing. We would wash them and we would repackage them. And just so many good memories in that toy store, guys. Like one story in particular, there was this old man who would come into my shop every single week, and he would always come in and I would just be like, hello, like, how are you? And he would always kind of just like not really look at me and kind of mumble a little bit of like a hello and not really say anything or look at me, and then walk around the store, and then he would walk past the counter and kind of turn his head towards me and ask, do you have any HO scale trains? To which my reply always was no, because HO scale trains was just something you rarely ever came across. So it was the same routine with him for months and months. He would do the same thing, come in, do his lap, not really say anything, not really say hello, not really say goodbye, and always right before he left ask, do I have any HO scale trains? Until one day he came in and we had our toy shop divided into two sections. So the front section was newer toys that we had kind of refurbished so people could buy for their little kids, and then in the back section of the store was where we kept all of our like older vintage like collectible type stuff, the kinds of things you probably won't buy for your little kids. So one day he's doing his lap and he ends up wandering into that collectible back section of the store where he's been many times, and he's looking in the one display case that we have there, and he sees in the middle of this display case these red bricks. They're kind of like these plastic red building bricks. They were like the predecessor to Lego. He sees these, and for the amount of them that I had in there is a pretty good amount, probably like a coffee can full, maybe a little bit more, and I was asking $55 for these. I was just asking the collectible value of this amount of these red blocks. So he sees them in there, and first time he's ever even like talked to me or said more than like a couple words to me, he asks me about these red blocks, and I was like, oh yeah, like I've had these for a while. And he's like, I had so few toys as a little kid, but I would always go to my neighbor's house and I would play with these red blocks, and they were just my favorite thing and just a highlight of his childhood, you could tell. And this man who hardly ever just even would look at me starts crying in front of me, not bawling his eyes out, but tearing up and just becomes so emotional over these red blocks. And he's so touched by these blocks. And he says, I can't afford these. Would you do any less on the price? So I told this man, I was like, you know what, just give me $10 for them, which now looking back, I wish I would have just given them to her for free. But he was so happy, he was more than happy to pay $10 for these blocks. And he just left the most happy man that I've ever seen. And I just imagine him going home and just playing with these red blocks, just like he was a little kid again. I can't tell that story without just like getting the best feeling ever of my life. And I just hope that this man still has those red blocks, and I hope that they really just brought like so much joy into his life. And after that, it just completely changed his entire persona. And after that, he would come in and he would just be in the best mood ever, and he would bring like his wife in. That is probably the best memory that I have from my toy store. We don't have our toy shop anymore, and I so miss having it around. It just ended up not being the best thing for us at that time. My brother had toddlers and a wife at home, and he hardly ever got to see his kids because he had his own business that he operated during the day, and then he would come down to the toy store and we would work there really late into the night, and he hardly saw his kids. So we decided best thing was just to make the hard choice and to shut it down. And we made that choice because we just decided that it was better than my brother not seeing his family when his children were so young. And I feel like it was probably a good thing that we decided to close when we did, because the very next year was just a very hard year for a lot of independent businesses in Penticton. And then a couple years later, everything ended up being locked down with the mandates and all these things, and that probably would have killed our business anyway. That's a piece of my history. I'm going to include some photos of the van that is now just a shell of a corpse up at my uncle's house right now. And don't mind if these photos are blurry, they're a little bit old, but I'm going to include some of those photos at the end of this video. So like always, my lovely YouTube people, thank you for being a participant in this episode, whether it was by watching or sharing your photos. And like always, if you like what you see, or if you just like me, or even if you don't like me but you like my bikes, then like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, and like always, I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace.